test I take, I get an A. Yeah, screaming that's none. When I pulled out the lock, that's done. Doing my thing, homework all day, every day. Triggers is it, triggers is it, triggers is it, triggers is it. Seeing Mr. Eng's face during period 3, triggers is it, triggers is it.
Hey guys, let's go over the Module 1 test, 1.1 to 1.8 on December 3rd, 2021. Which is the graph of f of x equals x squared minus 3? Okay, so I know that is quadratic because it's power of 2. There are no parentheses. So this is called standard form. And in standard form, you have ax squared plus bx plus c. Now pay attention, the negative 3 there is not the b value, it's the c. Do you see there I put a placeholder, 0x. Alright, some information we can get is a is equal to 1. And this is positive, so positive people smile, or it opens up. Negative 3 is your y-intercept, because if you put an x equals 0 into the equation, you get 0 squared. 0 minus 3 is negative 3. Okay, so let's take a look at which ones we can keep. They're all opening up. And I'm trying to find the one that has a y-intercept of negative 3. So that would be here, 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 this one. So for number 1, A is our answer. Question number 2, what is the average rate of change of the function in the table from 0 to 6? So they're saying an x value at x1 is 0, so this is your order pair. And then they're talking about your second order pair, which is your x2 value at 0, 6 to 6. So that would be 6, 14. To give you guys a quick visual of what's happening here, if you graph this 0, 5, 2, 6, 4, 9, 8, 21, the graph might look something like this. And we're trying to find between 0 and 6. What is the slope in this window from here to here? Okay, so all I have to do is just find the slope between those 2 points. So I'm going to call this one x1, y1, x2, y2. And I can just simply use the slope formula. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I'm going to highlight the negative sign because that's generally a mistake of students. And when we do our substitutions, we're going to put those in parentheses. So my y2 value is 14. The y1 value is 5. x2 value is 6. And the x1 value is 0. So 14 minus 5, that'll give me 9 over 6. And the factors of 9 are 3 and 3. 6 is 3 and 2. So you have m equals 3 halves. So our answer is A. Question number 3, use the graph of y equals x squared minus x minus 2 to find the solutions. So the solutions are basically where it crosses the x-axis here. And this crosses in 2 places, here and here. So this would be negative 1 and 2. So x equals negative 1 because we're on the x-axis, and x equals 2. So I see a negative 1 and I see a positive 2. Okay, that question was skipped. Skip it, left blank intentionally. Okay, so a big idea that we've been learning is that I equals the square root of -1. So this is square root of -1 times the square root of 4. And 81, I'll change colors here, square root of -1 times the square root of 81. So instead of writing the square root of -1, we're going to write I, same thing here. And then the square root of 4, two identical numbers that multiplied before are 2. And the square root of 81 is 9. We're just going to multiply all of those and then simplify. So I'll get 18, and I times I is I squared. Now, another one we need to know is that I squared equals -1. So right here, I'm going to write -1. So 18 times -1 is just going to be -18 is my answer. And that would be choice A. Let's move on to question number 6. Question number 6, what are the solutions of x squared plus 16 equals 0? You'll notice that this is your A and your C value. How do I know that? X squared plus 0x plus 16, just like we did above. Standard form has to have all the letters A, B, and C. A is in front of x squared, B is in front of x, and C is the one without an x squared, nor does it have an x. So when you have just an A and a C value like we do here, you can do a couple of things. You can solve this by quadratic formula. But I wouldn't use this method because this one's a faster method, is the square root method. Or solving by square root. So I'm going to move the 16 over. We have x squared equals -16. Okay, I'm going to get rid of the power of 2 here, I'm going to take the square root. And it has a 2 here. So the index, the radical sign, and the exponent are gone. So you're left with x equals. Now, anytime you do a square root on both sides, you must have this plus or minus. Plus or minus. So remember, this becomes square root of -1 times square root of 16. And we just heard the pirate say, aye. So this will become x equals 4 from the square root of 16, and square root of -1 is I. And this would be choice A. Okay, tells you to multiply. I already knew how to multiply because of this. Now, the common mistake for students is just to multiply the 3 times the 4, and then the 5i times the 2i. So you can use this problem by multiplying with FOIL, which I don't like, and then the box. And the reason why I'll show you guys the box, well, that's an oval box, is because that's what we've been doing in class, and FOIL only works with a binomial, which we have right here, 1, 2 times 1, 2. Bi meaning, you know, like a bicycle has 2 wheels, so that FOIL only works with that method. It doesn't work with other situations. So this box, you can increase it to be a rectangle. Okay, so let's write 3 plus 5i and 4 plus 2i. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 2i is 6i. 4 times 5i is 20i. And 5i times 2i is 10i squared. So to review, right now we're just multiplying, and then next we're going to add or combine like terms. Okay, we just multiplied. Let's go ahead and now combine like terms. These two both have an I, so I can just add what's in front. So I'm going to get 12 plus 26i plus 10i squared. Now you'll notice that these are not one of our choices. Now, you could be tempted to just do the 12 and then the 26, and that would be incorrect. So watch. Remember, up above, we just said that I squared is equal to -1. So let's go ahead and simplify. So this will become -10. And then I can just add these two together, and you will get 2 plus 26i. So that's going to be choices A, double check here, and B. Question 8 was skipped. Question 9, which of these equations can be used to solve x squared minus 4x minus 12 equals 0 by factoring? Remember, factoring is the easiest method, but doesn't always work. And we've been using this method called X-box, or area model factoring. And it works when you have in standard form. So notice there's no parentheses, and it's set equal to 0. There's no number in front. That would be A is 1, B is -4, and C is -12. So A times C is going to be -12, and your B value, which is going to be -4. We need to think of two numbers here in orange that will multiply. But those same two numbers need to add, or their sum is -4. I like to do sometimes is just list out all the numbers. So 12 times 1, 6 times 2. Notice I put the larger number on the left. 3 times 4. And any of those numbers work. I think I see it. Do you see it? Yeah, this one right here. 6 and 2. Now, we need to change some of those numbers. So -6 plus 2 equals a -4. And -6 times 2 gives you a -12. Okay, the -6 and the 2 are basically add up to this. So we have to add an x. -6x plus 2x equals -4x. So that green will always go into the bottom left and the top right, always. The first term, x squared, will always go in the top left, and in the top right, -12. Now, this is also called factoring by grouping. Basically, what we're doing is we're taking the 3 terms and making them 4 terms. It'll look like this. Okay, but you can ignore that for now. Okay, so greatest common factor in this direction is an x. Greatest common factor is a -6, x, and pay attention, this is a -2. Now you can always check your answers by multiplying. X times x is x squared. -2 times x, see, I made a mistake. That should be -2x. Glad I checked my answer. X times -6 is -6x, and -6 times -2 is a positive 12. So let's double check here. If you can see the mistake, I see mine. That was supposed to be a positive 2. So x times x is x squared, 2 times x is 2x, x times -6 is -6x, -6 times 2 is -12. Okay, so what's on the outside? That is our answer. So which one has both x plus 2 and x minus 6, which is choice A is our answer. Okay, number 10. What are the solutions So again, we can solve it like cooking a potato. There's multiple ways. You can try a quadratic formula. But if you recognize, that problem is the same one as we have above. So I can just take these here in blue, x minus 6, x plus 2 equals 0. And this is the easiest method of factoring. This is called I call it the zero product rule. Right? Something times something equals 0. That means one of these has to be 0. So what we do is we set both of them equal to 0. Add 6 to both sides. X is equal to 6 and x equals negative 2. And that'll be choice A. Now, for this question I just did, you can use the quadratic formula. You can use completing the square. But we already factored it. In this problem above, we have to use factoring method. You can use guess and check. I've seen tic-tac-toe, hockey sticks, but we've been using Xbox. All right, question number 11, use the square root property to solve x squared plus 7 equals 10. In this problem, all I have to do is move the c value across the equal sign. And then I get x squared equals 3. So two identical numbers that multiply to be 3. If I take the square root of both sides, remember these will cancel, so you're left with x equals plus or minus the square root of 3. Now, you'll notice I did not write that 2 in pink because, well, it's implied that it's there. We call it invisible. So which one of those has? That would be choice A. Number 12, find the value of c that makes the expression x squared plus 8x plus c a perfect square. So we did algebra tiles. And if you take, that's this portion, and then if you take the 8x and you split it in half, you draw 4 of these. Do you guys remember this? And then 4 this way. Then the question is, well, how many will go in here? Well, you actually have the answer right there. The answer is what? The c value has to be 16. Now there is a formula. Taking half the b value, what I just just said, right? Let's do that color coded because you can kind of see that, which is kind of cool. The b value, which is in blue, you take half of that and you're going to square it. So there's your a and there's your b. So my b value is 8, and half of 8 is 4. And 4 squared, right, 4, the sides of the square, 4 is 16, which we got there in pink, right? Okay. And then you can just factor that. And that should have, another way of also getting that is just, you'll get x plus 4 squared. Right? It's so fun. You can see the x plus 4. X, this is 4, this is the side of x, and this is 4. Okay, projectile is launched at a velocity of 64 feet per second. I'm going to underline that. Upwards from a height of 3 feet. The height of the projectile after t seconds is given by the function. Find and interpret the vertex. Okay, so I'm going to write the formula out again. And you see I'm not erasing it. I'm going to change all my t's to capitals so I don't get confused with the plus sign. Okay, here's the nice thing. They already told me the velocity, which they already put that in for me, and they already put in the height. So let's do a quick visual. Okay, so 3 feet, this is where it's being launched. And it's doing something like that. Try that again. I liked mine better. Okay, so the vertex is right here. it's the highest point. So you can just use the formula for vertex. X equals negative b over 2a. Now you might be saying, Mr. Eng, there are no x's. So again, you can change this to x's and y's if that makes you more comfortable. The math gods would be okay with that. Okay, because your a, b's, and c's are in the same locations. Do you see this? So a is negative 32. And your b value is 64. So I have x equals negative and then 2 times. So simplify this. X equals negative 64 over negative 64. And then this will become negative 1, so x is equal to 1. Okay, now, this just told me on the x-axis, this right here is 1. I want to know what this one is, because it's asking us what is the height. Okay, so how do you find that? You're just going to put in 1 back into the function. So basically, too dark. You're going to take x equals 1 and put it back in to this equation here. Let's do that. So I have negative 32 times 1 squared plus 64 times 1 plus 3. Remember, I got the 1 from what I did down here. So after 1 second, what is the height? Now I'm just going to use Pemdas to simplify. So exponents first. So that just becomes 1. And negative 32 plus 64 plus 3. Separate this. Oh, cool. Weird. And that'll be 32 plus 3. So that would be 35 is our answer. So this one will be 35 after 1 second. We'll check our answer here. And that's correct. Let's go on to the next problem. All right, let's go over number 14. Solve by using the quadratic formula. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. All right, so you have a is 1, b is 3, and c is negative 5. B is 3. B is 3. That's a b. Minus 4 times a, which is 1, and c value, which is negative 5, all over 2 times 1. So negative 3 plus or minus 9 minus negative 4 times 1, negative 4 times negative 5 is plus 20. So you get square root of 29 over 2, and that'll be choice A. Consider the following equation. What is the discriminant? The discriminant has a formula of b squared minus 4ac. A, B, C. So the b value is negative 6, a value is 1, c is negative 9. So this would give you 36 plus 36, right? You multiply all of those, you'll get 72. So our discriminant is 72, it's positive, and we're going to get 2 real roots. Now, if this number was like a perfect square, like say 36, then you would have 1 real root. If you graph this, x squared minus 6x minus 9. You'll realize that it crosses the x-axis in two locations. That's why we have two real roots. And these are irrational because those fractions up there in the top left keep going on forever. All right, question number 16. Which graph shows the solution? Well, notice this is a greater than, so greater or less than, have dotted lines. If it's the less than with an equals or greater with equals, then you have solids. So the only one that has dotted or dashed is A and B. So I'm going to cross off C and D. Next thing I can do is just figure out a test point. Test point is 0, 0. Your x value is going to be 0, and your y value is going to be 0. So if I test this point, 0 minus 4, 0 is bigger than negative 4. This is true. So 0, 0, we're going to shade. Where 0, 0 is in the orange, we're going to shade this. Everything in the shaded region is a solution. Now, let me prove to you why this one over here, let's pick a point that's outside here. This should be false. A non-shaded region like the pink dot should be false. 3, 0. Let's put it in. Let me prove to you why. Nine minus 4 is 5. Is 0 bigger than 5? That is false. Where 3, 0 is, don't shade. So basically the shaded regions tell you where there is solutions. So the answer would be A. Question number 17. A profit. A company determines when the price of its product is set to X dollars. So let me go ahead and draw a quick graph. Here's the x-axis. This is measured in dollars. In thousands of dollars. In thousands. So if you see 1 here, that'll be like 1 times 1,000, which would be $1,000. And can be modeled by the function p of x, where p of x represents profit. So this is our profits over here. And I want my profits, hopefully, for a company to be positive. Now, you can just, without a calculator, if you took a greatest common factor of -10, notice I had to change all my signs because if you distributed there. And if I factor this, A, B, C, you'll find it to be -20 and -25. Two numbers that multiply to be 500, but add to be, -45 right here. And then if you set each of these equal to 0, that one means nothing. So x equals 20 and 25. We don't worry about that one. So my answer is going to be D. Now, if you think about this problem, you have a y-intercept of -5,000. The graph's going to go, let's say 20 and 25. And if you put in the graphing calculator, you'll see that it's only above the x-axis that it's profitable. Number 18, skip, left blank intentionally. Number 19, solve the system of equations. Okay, so for number 19, they're both already set equal to y. So let me show you guys this visually, hopefully. And this blue one, I'm going to write it this way, to the left. Well, they're both set equal to y, so you don't really need that. See that? And what happens is the substitution, you've eliminated the y variable. And divided by -4, we're going to get x equals +1. Remember, you cross it off, it's a 1. Okay, you can take that 1 and put it into any equation you want. I'm going to put it into the second one here. I think my pen is dying. Okay, so this is the intersection. 1, -3. 1, -3. Remember, I want you to think about what's happening here. This pink one, if you factor it out, I'm basically graphing this without using a graphing calculator. Set those each equal to 0, and you'll get x equals 0 and 4. Opens up. Blue one, if you factor this one, you would get x plus 2, x minus 2, which means you set those equal to 0 and get -2 and 2. Again, all I'm doing here is just graphing this without a graphing calculator. And then our orange solution was 1, -3. 1, -3. And that's why our answer is A. Okay, so if we put this in the graphing calculator, remember I got to use Desmos because this one has, the TI only has y equals. This one does both. So y equals 1 divided by 2, go towards the right, x squared minus 6. Erase that. Okay, my second equation is x equals y plus 4 squared. And you'll see that I have two solutions here. I have 1 and I have 2. Okay? Now, if you wanted to do this algebraically, it would be a lot of work. You can do it either way. I would put the x in here. So in white there, that represents all of x. And you would take a lot of work to do this. You would expand it. So graphically, I'm not going to use graphic calculators, a lot easier. And so those are our corrections. We'll see you guys later. Bye.
It started out with graphing and then it went to functions. I'm doing FOIL to solve x. Next is the expressions. Now I have to see if x is equal to or greater than 3. Now you make that point on the x-axis. Wait, was it a +3 or a -3?